All right, we're back, and as promised, we've got a very special guest with us this evening, Jim Rogers, who needs no introduction, but he's run big funds that have raised 4,200% over 10 years when the S&P went up 50%. He's obviously a best-selling author, and he's predicted much of what's now happening, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'd like him to break down what he's accurately predicted. I've got some of the news articles here and what he sees coming up in the future. His latest best-selling book is A Gift to My Children, A Father's Lessons for Life and Investing. Of course, you can also go to his website, Jim Rogers, that's ROGERS.com. And he's also a Guinness Book of World Record holder on multiple fronts. We'll get him to talk some about that. Now, he joins us here while he's on his exercise bike in the beautiful, I guess, semi-tropical environs of Singapore. And so we turn now to Jim Rogers joining us here at Infowars Nightly News. Jim, thank you for joining us.
I am delighted. And yes, it is Singapore. We're on the equator. In Singapore, it's either always hot or always hot and raining.
Well, I tell you, I've probably watched you 300 times on national television, Fox, CNBC, you name it, but I don't think I've ever seen you on a exercise bike. So we're honored that you're doing this with us.
Well, I'm delighted. I'm multitasking. I try to get two things done at once. So if I fall off the bike, you'll be the first to know.
Okay, Jim. Wow. Now, listen, there's a lot of stuff written in the press. I want to make sure this is accurate. A few days ago, a bunch of reports came out that you said global collapse, a done deal. What's your view on the world economy right now and where it's going?
Well, Alex, every 4 to 6 years in America, we've had a slowdown or a recession. Ever since the Republic, the beginning of the Republic. So we're overdue for one, the end of 2011, 2012, 2013. So it always happens. It's going to happen again, despite what politicians or central bankers tell you. The next time around, it's going to be very bad. It's just as, 2002, we had a slowdown. 2008, it was much worse. 2012, 2013 is going to be worse still because we shot all our bullets. I mean, the U.S. cannot quadruple its debt again. We cannot print more money again, staggering amounts of money again. So it's going to be a mess, a huge mess. There's nothing we can do about it.
Now, let's talk about, because I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but I've printed up a bunch of news articles here. I remember you 3-4 years ago saying what they did wasn't going to work, that you'd see all sorts of currencies going down globally, that commodities was the place to go, and gold's gone from $300 to $1,800, silver's gone from $5 to $30+. You're saying get into farmland. Toot your own horn, though, just so people can understand why you made the predictions you did. Quite a bit of what you predicted's come true. Break down how you were able to make those predictions, and then what you see coming in the near future, and then even the medium term.
Well, Alex, I partly because of I know what's happened before in the world. In the early 1990s, Japan had a problem like this. They refused to let people fail. They propped everybody up. You remember the term zombie banks, zombie companies? Well, it's 21 years later. Japan is still suffering because they didn't accept reality. They didn't take the pain. The Japanese stock market is down 80%. That's 80% in the last 21 years. Because they refuse to accept reality. America's going to have the same problem. We're going to try to prop everybody up. That does not work. In Sweden, at the same time, 21 years ago, in Scandinavia, I should say, they took the pain. It was horrible for 2 years, 3 years. But since then, after starting over, taking the losses, taking the pain, Scandinavia's had a wonderfully vibrant and dynamic economy. It just doesn't work to prop up failure, to reward incompetence. That's what capitalism's all about. Competent people come in, take over the failed assets from the failed people, and start over. What we're doing in America, we're taking the assets away from the competent people, giving them to the incompetent people, and saying, okay, guys, now you can compete with the competent people with their money. It's outrageous morality. Not that politicians care about morality, but it's horrible economics. It cannot and will not work.
Well, I'm certainly no rocket scientist. I mean, I'm not a guy that's made people tens of millions of dollars like yourself and, has a 30, 40-year track record of doing it. But studying economics, studying history, when you see a bunch of countries start basically turning up the printing presses and then paying for the garbage derivatives with more printing press money, it seems like I've seen all these third world countries go that direction. So correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, is that why basically you're saying that there's no way to turn this around, or what are some of the other factors that feed into that?
Well, Alex, the cure for too much debt is not more debt, although in Washington they seem to think, well, we had too much consumption, too much debt, so let's solve that problem with more consumption and more debt. I mean, it's astonishing that grown-ups would say something like that out loud. If it were that simple, every country in the world would be prosperous. But what's always happened is you pile up debt, that fails, and then they start printing money. If all you had to do was pile up debt and print money, Zimbabwe would be the richest country in the world right now. Many countries would be extremely rich. It doesn't work. Economics is pretty simple. If you spend money you don't have, you either pay it back or go bankrupt or suffer the consequences. We've already had one lost decade in America. We're going to have 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many lost decades we're going to have until we accept reality.
Okay. Then just to be clear, then, you are saying that a global financial collapse is a foregone conclusion, no way to turn it around, no way to stop it now?
Well, I'm saying yes. The next time we have a recession, and we're going to have one, I guarantee you, it's going to be worse than anything we've experienced in the last few decades because of the staggering amounts of debt that have been built up in the U.S. and in Europe. Now, there's a way. Sure, we could take an alternative course. We could accept reality. We could let people fail. All those guys on Wall Street should have failed. The idea that they're still driving their Lamborghinis is outrageous as far as I'm concerned. They're all getting their bonuses. Outrageous as far as I'm concerned. You and I are paying for it. We could do that. We could let them fail. We could take our pain, admit our mistakes. It would be very bad for 2 or 3 years, Alex. There's no question. It would be a mess. But the alternative is to have 10, 20, 30 years of more lost decades and lost years from our lives.
All right, Jim Rogers is our guest. We're honored to have him, and a premiere interview with him on the exercise bike. I'm actually loving this. I think this is pretty